in the back of Anytime Space. And if he does that, if he can shift, like get a couple mines down in front of that kind of breach at the secondary, he might be able to pull something on Katrina. But otherwise, yeah, I think Anytime will take it.
Well, I don't know about the dropship strategy, I have to say, because I have seen Terran players recently try to go straight dropship, and we've seen that one factory, the starport build, and I don't think that's gonna. I think that doesn't seem to really work, because by the time you actually get the vultures over there, most Terran players have got at least a couple of goons out, and they've sealed their gate, and they usually are able to defend comfortably against it. You just can't have the spider mines up in time, I think. So I don't know if that's a great idea for Nada, but he's gonna have to do something special. Okay, moving on. Flash versus Wason. I'm going to come to Diggity first with this one. This looks to be another exciting game, even though it's Terran versus Terran.
Actually, yeah, this should be actually pretty fun, because Flash has been, he's had a wide variety of builds against Terran opponents and against opponents in general. Not anything cheesy like we saw against Pisu, but yeah, he's just been playing solidly across the board. If this was last season, I would have taken Huashin hands down. But Huashin has the karma going. I mean, he was like, yeah, I beat Firebat Hero for Savior because he was talking smack to him, and I didn't appreciate him basically insulting someone who's so good at StarCraft. So maybe he'll have a bit of confidence, a bit of momentum, and get back into top A form. I think best Flash versus best Huashin. Huashin wins, but Huashin hasn't been playing his best recently, and Flash has been playing damn good, so I'm going to have to go with Flash.
I have to say, I think you're selling Flash's best short a little bit there, because he is one of the players I've been very impressed with. Moletrap, who are you calling for this game?
Definitely Flash. Honestly, I think Flash's best is a little bit better than Huashin's best. Maybe it's just because I've been seeing Flash totally Ponzor everyone lately. But at the very least, Huashin has been playing like Poot the last couple months. So I don't expect him to play his A game anyways. Flash is definitely going to take that one.
Okay, now we come to the big one. Jaedong versus Luxury and Moletrap. I know you're not a huge Zerg versus Zerg fan, but you got to be salivating at the prospect of this one.
I'm fine with Zerg versus Zerg. Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, this is going to be absolutely crazy. Luxury, I think, has 69%, 68-69% win rate, Zerg versus Zerg, which is... People say Zerg versus Zerg is a toss-up, but that is not a toss-up. Jaedong has an absolutely ridiculous 76% win rate, Zerg versus Zerg, and that cannot be an accident. It's going to be absolutely nuts. These are basically the best two almost ever at this matchup, and they're both going to be going up against each other. Jaedong has just been way too smart lately, though. He's just been way on top of his game. His game sense has just been absolutely astounding. I think Jaedong will probably take it, honestly, because Zerg versus Zerg is a little bit crazy. It'll probably go 2-1, and there's a possibility anything can happen, but Jaedong has just been on fire, and Luxury has only been on acid, I guess.
Interesting analogy there. Yeah, Jaedong versus Luxury. Both of these guys, Diggity, are the best Zerg versus Zerg players out there. But Jaedong is the champion. He's been there, done that, deals with the pressure, is hot right now and looking untouchable. Luxury, on the other hand, does seem to be someone who has a tendency to possibly choke when it comes to the big stage. We've seen lots of potential for him, but it's never really been realized. I mean, I would have to say that Jaedong, that the balance, the skills are in terms of are tilting towards Jaedong, but unfortunately Zerg versus Zerg is so unpredictable. So, is it really anyone's game, Diggity?
I'm going to give a slight edge to Jaedong, but yeah, it could be anyone's game on Zodiac if they end up way across if they end up at the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock position, and it just so happens that Luxury decided to do a scout on Jaedong across the map. I'm not sure why he would decide to do that, and he goes 12 hatch instead of 9 pool for whatever reason, and somehow, any little bit of thing, it's just so, it's so random at times. There's just so many different things that can happen. So I can't just say it's a lock for Jaedong, but in a straight up match where things just even out and no one player ends up with some crazy advantage because of just straight up luck, yeah, I'm going to say Jaedong takes that match.
Okay, so we've covered all the brackets. I've got to agree again with Jaedong taking that match. So one line very quickly, guys. Your pick for the round of 16 in terms of matches. Which do you think is going to be the most exciting match? Which is going to be the best match for the fans? Diggity, first of all.
I got to go with Magic July. Magic's going to do. He's known for doing creative things. He's probably going to do something creative, and I expect July to put up a really good fight and probably take him down. Expecting him to take him down, and I think that matchup will be really awesome. And a close second, probably Quanro Cal. Just because Quanro is just so fun to watch.
Okay, that was 2, so you cheated.
Sorry.
Moletrap, pick one.
I'll take his second one, so he only takes one. I'll take Quanro Cal, because I think that is going to be crazy, just because of Quanro being insane.
Absolutely, I've got to agree with you. My pick also would be Quanro versus Cal, and I agree. Quanro is insane, but not in a bad way. Insane, sort of in the Mr. T style. Let me introduce you to my friend Payne. So, you know, we've seen Reach do it to Justin. I wonder if Quanro will do it to Cal. Okay, so the next thing very quickly that I want to come to is the entire MSL. If you guys had to call, who do you think will win? Not who you want to win, but who do you think will win? Moletrap first.
I don't see Jaedong losing this. Honestly, I think Luxury has the best chance of anyone in the entire bracket of beating Jaedong, but I don't think he will. And if Jaedong does get past Luxury, I don't think Flash can stop him. I don't think Huashin can stop him. I don't think anyone, and none of the Terrans can stop him, and I don't think Anytime can stop him either. And whoever you think is going to be on the other side, it'll probably be either C, Light, or Cal. I don't think they'll be able to stop Jaedong either at this point. He's just too much on fire.
Right. Jaedong we would have to say is almost a virtual certainty to take the MSL. We predicted Xavier was going to do it, and he lost to Bisu, the player we never thought he'd lose against. We thought Bisu was going to do it, and he lost to Mind, the player we thought he'd never lose against. So, do you really believe as firmly as Moletrap that it's going to be Jaedong holding the crown at the end of the day? Diggity?
It was fun. Yeah, it's funny. I was just about to say, yeah, I'm almost certain Jaedong's going to win. Therefore, he's almost certainly not going to win. Because whenever you predict, whenever you're expecting someone to win in the MSL, inevitably they don't, and that's always been the rule. There's always people talk about the 9-10 rule, that one player that's just is not deserving always ends up in the round of 8. It's
Ryan Tangby.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably the bracket we see here. And I'd also like to throw in, there's always that one old-time favorite that ends up making it into the round of 4 and dropping out. And prior we've seen Zelos and Nalra, and just basically a plethora, and I think that'll be Anytime this year. But yeah, I'm going to call, with my head, I'm going to call Jaedong, but as a result, I'm going to say, yeah, it's probably not going to be Jaedong, simply because the MSL's never predictable. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, that has to be said. Well, I mean, I think you can only have so much of a good thing. I mean, Xavier won it 3 times in a row. Bisu almost won it 3 times in a row, or did win it 3 times in a row, lost the 4th time around. So, I think there is a degree of predictability possible. But I think I do agree with Moletrap. If Jaedong can get through Luxury, I think it's smooth sailing for him there. I don't think there's anyone else who can stop him, bar July maybe getting to the finals, because July Zerg versus Zerg is also pretty solid. So if Jaedong can get through Luxury, I do definitely see him taking it as well. So moving on, next question, guys. Not who you think will win, who do you want to win? Who is your favorite choice to win out of the round of this MSL season? Diggity.
Oh, my heart's always with Nada. I really want to see Nada take it. Just 'cause, yeah, I love Nada, and he is my favorite player. Maybe July after that, but yeah, if I could just say give one person their top level playing ability all the way through, I would give it to Nada. And I really want to see one of the old schoolers make it back in the end, because it always seems like it's the new up and coming that always takes it and then fades into the distance. It would be nice to see kind of the old school coming back and reclaiming the throne for once, but. But yeah, I don't expect Nada to get past Anytime, so that'll probably be fairly short-lived.
Well, I would back you on Nada, but since you've already picked him, I would think I would go with Flash. As much as I feel Jaedong deserves to win, as much as I am a Zerg fan, it's been a long time since we've had a really. I know Mind won it last season, but I still feel it's been a long time since we had a really exciting Terran player to watch just rip through everyone, and I think it's been a while since we've had that. And I think Flash has the potential to be that player, and I would love for him to realize it. What about you, Moletrap? Who would be your pick?
Wow, you guys covered some good ones already. Yeah, I mean, my heart is always with Nada also, and at first I kind of thought Flash was a little bit of a punk. I think everyone did, but I really like him now too. I really like his ballsy play. But barring those, I think I'm gonna go with C. I would want C to win because he's Boxer's destined champion, and he's been. I mean, I think Jaedong may have actually just recently passed him, but if not, then C is the winningest career player playing right now. He has the highest career winning percentage of any other StarCraft player, as I understand it. And he's just such a good player. He deserves it. But even more so, I actually just kind of like his character. He's always a very good sport, and he's always, kind of supporting his teammates and, hanging out, when someone else is playing and watching the games and that sort of thing. So I think he's just kind of a good guy, from what I can tell, and definitely his gameplay is up to it. So I think in that sense he deserves to win, and I think that he will. Honestly, if C can bring his best to the entire MSL, he will definitely win his side of the bracket, and he has a chance of beating Jaedong. If honestly, I think he does have a chance if he brings his top game.
Yeah, I'd love to see C versus July in the semifinals. I think that would be sweet.
I think that's going to happen.
Going on from, I think there is a good chance of that. There is a good chance of that. But I've got to say, this might sound very superficial of me, but I just don't like the way C looks. I know it's a bit of I just don't. Sorry, I'm a cruel man. Anyway, okay, so we're almost at the end of our discussion here, but I do want to ask you guys, in terms of picking players, who do you feel is the best up-and-coming youngster in this group, in this round of 16? I mean, Flash would be the obvious choice for me. Do you have any different takes on this, Diggity?
Wow, best up-and-coming. So I guess the three obvious to choose from are Quanro, Cal, and Mind. And I guess I'll go with Mind because he's just... Quanro and Cal both looking very strong. Quanro has really aggressive micro, but I think he has a lot of obvious places where he can be beaten. Cal, I think he just needs some more experience, but Mind obviously won the last MSL, and he's just been really solid all around in Pro League and across the board. He's just really solid, and I think he already has entered into that kind of I'm no longer a newbie status, obviously with a championship, but also with his general play post that, and I think he will be a dangerous player into the future. But yeah, I'll go with Mind in that grouping. But that's really tough, just considering the quality of these up-and-comers in this group.
Right, and I think that's very, very interesting. The fact that Mind did announce himself on the scene last season by actually winning the MSL, and yet Diggity considers him to be a new player. And I think that just goes to show how competitive StarCraft is, and what a player really has to do to be considered established and not just still up and coming. So I definitely have to give Diggity a lot of credit for his thoughts there. But I'm coming back to Moletrap. Moletrap, who's your pick for the best up-and-coming player?
I guess as far as new versus up-and-coming, I would consider mine new, but I wouldn't consider him up-and-coming because he did win the MSL last season. And honestly, I wouldn't consider Flash up-and-coming either because I think he's established himself as a really good player and someone to be reckoned with. He's gotten to... I don't remember exactly where, but I know he's gotten to at least the round of 8 of a Star League or 2, I believe. I could be wrong about that. But he's been in
a lot of them, yeah.
He's been in the early stages, at least, of a lot of Star Leagues already. The only ones I would consider up and coming would be Quanro and Cal. And between the two, Cal has been playing really, really well recently. I'd have to say he is probably the best of the up-and-comings, since I would also consider Orion a up-and-coming, and he sucks balls.
Okay, well, the next thing I thought we could talk about a little bit would be the maps, but I think we've kind of gone through the maps already in our discussion. So, do you have any further thoughts to add on the maps, Moletrap? Anything specific you want to say about these maps? We've got Loki 2, Zodiac, Bluestorm, and Katrina. I suppose the one question I would want you to tell me is, which is your favorite map out of this group?
Probably Bluestorm, just because we've seen a lot of crazy matches on it, and I don't think... Actually, I can't even remember the last time I saw a game on that map that was not exciting. And it does have some statistical imbalances, but I don't know. I've said it before. I think that just accounts for players need to kind of change their playstyle maybe and do something different than their standard that works better with the map. But yeah, it's just as far as sheer exciting factor, Blue Storms would be my favorite map. Other than that, I don't have any other particular thoughts on the maps.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Blue Storm is very very in your face, up and personal, and I like it, and I think it is definitely a great map to watch StarCraft on, and it does produce a lot of very exciting and innovative games. We've seen the re-emergence of the 2-hatchery Zerg build on it versus Terran, though it does seem to be a little bit imbalanced, that 2-hatchery build versus Terran on Blue Storm, with the Terran natural expansion Mineral 9 being severely vulnerable, though I guess it's the fault of the Terran players for fast expanding knowing that. But what do you feel, Diggity? I mean, do you have any thoughts on the maps, and which one is your favorite?
It's interesting that, Blue Storm definitely my favorite for reasons already said. I can only think of one boring match, and it was a Terran versus Terran where I think, who was it between? It was Uzi and I think Flash, and it just ended up to being this long, drawn-out battle cruiser standoff where they just patrolled for literally half an hour, and I'm like, come on, just fight already. But interestingly enough, only 3 Protoss left, but I feel like Loki 2 and Katrina heavily favor the Protoss players. So interesting that only a couple Protoss, but definitely I feel like the map set helps Protoss out as far as 2 of the 4 maps more in favor of Protoss, especially Protoss versus Terran in both those matches. As far as otherwise, I really like seeing Zerg players on Zodiac because we've seen some creative things, early drops for expansions on that, and I think I saw Orion, no, it was Max actually, Q Max, he did some interesting things on that versus C, and I would be interested to see if Orion decides to do that on Zodiac as well, or maybe if Jaedong Luxury further down the line, maybe July further down the line, does some interesting stuff on Zodiac. So yeah, my favorite definitely Blue Storm because you never see a boring match. I like seeing Zerg on Zodiac for reasons I already said, and we'll see if Protoss players can take advantage of kind of their statistical map advantage and get a little further than they would be able to otherwise.
Yeah, I've got to say, since the collapse almost of Bisu and Stork, we do seem to have entered a dark era, the Middle Ages for Protoss players, unfortunately, and Protoss fans especially. But on the other hand, we do seem to be entering into this kind of transitional phase in StarCraft pro gaming. We've got StarCraft 2 around the corner, maybe possibly a year away at most, but in terms of the pro scene, we don't have a reigning dominating player, and it's been a long time since that. We had Savior for a while, then we had Bisu seemingly for a little while, and before that it was I can't remember who it was before Savior, but there's always been one player, right? There was Nada, and there was Nal Ra had his time, Boxer had his time, UV had his time. So there's always been one player dominating. I suppose Nalra hasn't really dominated as much, but there's always been a player who's really dominated the pro scene for a year or for 2 or 3 seasons. And right now that does seem to be empty, and maybe Jaedong is going to fill that. But we do seem to be going through a transitional phase. What are your thoughts on the state of the pro scene, Moletrap? I mean, do you agree with that, or what else would you like to say on that?
Well, first of all, on a kind of going back note, it's interesting that Diggity mentioned the Protoss using the maps to their advantage because Jangbi, for some reason, decided to thumb down Katrina in his matchup against Orion, which Katrina favors Protoss over Zerg. So Jangbi, at the very least, not using the map statistics to his advantage. As far as I'm not sure I understood your question though. You're asking as far as you're saying there's not a dominant player right now, or something?
Right, I'm saying first of all there doesn't seem to be. I mean, Jaedong looks like he might be getting there, but he'll really have to get past Luxury to prove that. But yeah, we don't have a champion that is the man to beat, for everyone to fear and shake and quiver in their boots at. Jaedong might be, but it's too early to tell yet. But that, and specifically your thoughts generally on the state of the StarCraft pro scene.
I see what you mean. By the way, I do have to go in about 2 minutes. But
we're almost at the end.
I think Jaedong is on his way there at the very least. Although I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to not have a champion there, because it makes it a little bit more exciting. It's not like, oh well, Jaedong's going to win this again. Whatever. Why do we even bother watching it? I mean, there's a ton of players in this Star League that could win it. So it's I think that makes it a little bit more exciting personally.
What about you, Diggity? Same question.
I think it's just kind of the rising fame of Pro League in Korea, where there's just been so many good new players, fantastic across the board. Even 2 seasons ago, players that have come into it are really, really competitive. I think that's why they decided to make the minor leagues, because they're like, wow, we have a ton of good players and we can't even feature them all, so let's put a couple of them in the Pro League minor league so they can work their way out. I think that's kind of an artifact of just the increased level of competition as a result of this just being around for so long. And if StarCraft 2 does interrupt that, that's just going to be absolutely devastating for me, at least. But yeah, I think that's the issue here. Could Jaedong be it? I think maybe, but will it last as long? I don't think so. And I think that's kind of what Bisu is kind of the harbinger of, is the fact that you're not going to have these dominant players over long periods of time like you had with Boxer, and basically people after that up until really, I guess, Bisu. It's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter as far as who's the dominant player, I think. And I think that, yeah, it's just the level of competition is just so fierce. I mean, looking at this MSL bracket and even the round of 32, it's like, wow, so many good games. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm really excited about that.
Even...
Did you want to say something, Moletrap? Sorry.
Yeah, just real quick. Even when there is a champion, you've got to remember that they still don't win all the time. I mean, Savior, for instance, won three MSLs before he actually won an OSL, which means for an entire two seasons, he was only one of the better players. He wasn't the dominant player completely, 100%, because there was someone else over there winning the OSL. I don't remember who exactly, but and same thing with Bisu. He won 2 MSLs in a row, but he wasn't winning the OSL at the same time. So there's always a little bit of competition around.
Right. So before we're reaching the winding down now of our discussion about this, but before I get to your concluding thoughts on the issue, I do have one last question. Who here in this group, in this bracket, has the most to prove, guys? Because we've covered who we think will win, who we want to win, who's the up-and-coming, but who's got the most to prove? Who's the one with the most on the line? For me, it would have to be C. There's been so much talk about this guy, and I think, really, come at the hour, come at the man, and if come not C, then I think we'll have a lot of sand. So, what about you, Diggity? Who's got the most to prove?
I think C's already he's already proven himself as a well, actually no, I'll take that back. Yeah, C. I gotta go with C, just because he has this classic stigma attached to him that he can't win a championship. So I was gonna say maybe anytime because he hasn't taken it, but yeah, I gotta go with C just because he's deserved it for so long and hasn't taken the championship either in OSL or MSL. And honestly, I almost want to say that this year in Pro League, he's probably been the most valuable player, so he has the most to prove for sure, to show that not just that he's a good Pro League player, but that he can take down championships.
Right, and winning a championship that's something special. Stork just didn't seem to have the nuts at the end of the day to be able to do it. Does C have them? Who is the player, in your opinion, Moletrap, that has the most to prove this time around?
C definitely came to my mind first, but since you went with him, I think other than that, it might be Flash, actually. Flash, I mean, like I said, he's been playing really well lately, and I think he's established himself as one of the solid players in the pro scene right now. But he still hasn't. I don't think even he hasn't. He hasn't gone that step and taken an actual Star League to prove that he's, among the top ranks. And especially since he's the youngest player around that really has a chance of doing anything, and so in that sense, he's kind of has to prove himself quickly if he wants to keep that title of the youngest player to do such and such. So yeah. On the other hand, Jaedong also is in a position where he kind of needs to prove that he is dominant and that he wasn't just a fluke of winning the OSL or the last one.
Right, flash in the pan stuff. Okay, so I'm going to come now to your concluding thoughts. First of all, again, Diggity, what are your overall thoughts? What is your final word on the matter?
My final word is I'm expecting a Final Four of probably Light, maybe Quanro Cal. I can't really call that one. July for sure in that section. Anytime, and then Jaedong. So I'm expecting all the games all the way through in the Final Four to just absolutely be fantastic. I don't think there. Well, first of all, usually there's not any throwaway games across the board, but we're not even going to see any Terran versus Terran, is my guess, in the round of 8, and probably not in the round of 4. And I'm just wow, it's just going to be really exciting. I think, especially if we see a Terran versus Zerg on the July that side of the bracket, it's just going to be great. I'm so excited about this season of the MSL. It's just my head's going to explode if I keep talking about it.
Yeah, I have to say your enthusiasm has been right up there. In this bracket, you definitely seem to be really into it, and I think that's exactly what we want from a StarCraft commentator. But what about you, Moletrap? Are you as excited as Diggity? Do you feel that this is probably one of the most exciting MSL seasons we've been here to witness?
Definitely. What I'm really liking about this MSL actually is it, obviously Stork getting out, Bisu getting out, Savior getting out. I almost feel like this Star League is like, it's clean, it's fresh, it's there's no names in it that are obvious, or there's not going to be a lot of anytime Nada sort of, but there's not a lot of old blood in here, so it's going to be really cool to see. And also, just there's so many players in the Star League that I would love to win a Star League, that I'm going to be happy with the result of the final. To some degree, no matter what, I think, because there's just really a lot of fun players here, and yeah, it is going to be exciting. All of these matches are going to be totally great. There's, aside from Jang the Orion, one match or two, there's pretty much going to be awesome matchups between really great players the entire way from here on out. So I am definitely excited about it.
Yes. Spring coming early for StarCraft fans, so that pretty much wraps it up from us. This is Klazart. I'm here with Moletrap and Diggity. We had an interesting chat. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well, and we'll be bringing you the MSL as it happens, and hopefully you guys will enjoy our coverage of it. And really that's all I have to say on it. We've got an exciting time ahead, folks. This is Klazart. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Yep.